everybody. Welcome to Impact Moment. Just realized that my hair is falling all apart today. So anyway, welcome. I'm going to adjust the camera just a little bit. So today we are doing Impact Moment, and I am Pastor Donna from the Impact Church located in Aurora, South Dakota. And today we are in Isaiah chapter 15. And so if you've been following along in this Impact Moment, we've gone through the first 14 chapters already. But you can hop onto any of these videos, even if you haven't watched the original 14, and get a lot of good info out of this. So it's just a great time for us to have this devotional time, which is about 15 minutes long. So it's not too long. So today with chapter 15, I'm actually using Good News Translation, which is the Bible that we actually use in our church as well. And this section is called God Will Destroy Moab. And it begins, this is so funny because in this translation, the very first sentence is, "This is a message about Moab." So it's almost like a double introduction that we're going to be talking about Moab. But it begins with verse 1. "So the cities of Ar and Kir are destroyed in a single night, and silence covers the land of Moab. The people of Dibon climb the hill to weep at the shrine. The people of Moab wail in grief over the cities of Nebo and Medeba. They have shaved their heads and their beards in grief." So side note, when people during that time, they were in periods of grief, they had to, it was good practice to show it outwardly, which is kind of crazy to us because in our American standard today, it's almost like, oh, you have to grieve behind closed doors. Don't show that. You have to have this kind of this stiff upper lip all the time in grief, which can be really unhealthy for those of us that have gone through grief, and we have unfortunately felt a lot of pressure from the outside to not show our grief. But in these times, the people of Moab, they were supposed to show it. And so they would literally wear clothes that had been torn. They would let their beards just grow out, or they would completely shave their heads and their beards. And this also applied to women too. Oftentimes, women would shave their heads in grief as well. So it wasn't just for the men. And the people in the streets, it says in verse 3, are dressed in sackcloth. Another reference to nothing being fancy during this grieving time. And they are in the city squares and on the rooftops. People mourn and cry. So another side note, you will see that there's this huge wailing, this groaning, this process that they go through. And it was very cathartic for them to be able to grieve in such an open manner. So in verse 4, it says, "The people of Heshbon and Eliah, they cry out, and their cry can be heard as far away as Jahaz. Even the soldiers tremble. Their courage is gone. My heart cries out for Moab. The people have fled to the town of Zoar and to Eglath, Shelishiah. Some climb the road to Luhith, weeping as they go. Some escape to Horonaim, grieving loudly. Nimrim brook is dry, the grass beside it has withered, and nothing green is left. The people go across the valley of willows, trying to escape with all their possessions. Everywhere at Moab's borders, the sound of crying is heard. It is heard at the towns of Eglam and Beerlim, and the town of Dibon the river is red with blood. And God has something even worse in store for the people there. Yes, there will be a bloody slaughter of everyone left in Moab." So that is 9 verses that make up the entirety of chapter 15. And you definitely get the sense that because of the amount of grief that these people are going through in Moab, that something terrible has totally happened to them. And at the very end, we see that even more trials are going to come. So let's go into chapter 16. This continues on, and this section is called Moab's Hopeless Situation. So there's a lot of doom and gloom in these 2 chapters in particular. It says, "From the city of Selah in the desert, the people of Moab send a lamb as a present to the one who rules in Jerusalem. They wait on the banks of the Arnon River and move aimlessly back and forth like birds driven from their nest. They say to the people of Judah, "Tell us what to do. Protect us like a tree that casts a cool shadow in the heat of noon, and let us rest in your shade. We are refugees. Hide us where no one can find us. Let us stay in your land. Protect us from those who want to destroy us." So we have these people, the people of Moab. They are going and trying to get help from the people of Judah. So it says, oppression and destruction will end, and those who are devastating the country will be gone. Then one of David's descendants will be king, and he will rule the people with faithfulness and love. He will be quick to do what is right, and he will see that justice is done. Oh my goodness. So here is that hope. Remember, I preach on this all the time, especially in Impact Moment, especially in the book of Isaiah. There is so much doom and gloom. However, in this book, we do have these moments, these glimpses of hope that the Lord will bring help. And it's really key that when we are reading the book of Isaiah, there's over and over and over again all of these foreshadowings of Jesus, right? But these people in this time, they didn't know that it was Jesus who Isaiah was talking about. Let's read that section again. Oppression and destruction will end, and those who are devastating the country will be gone. Then one of David's descendants will be king, and he will rule the people with what? Faithfulness and love. So most of the kings that have been coming into this area, they are ruling the people with just utter destruction and chaos. And they are so full of anger at these people, and they are just obliterating these people that they're trying to rule. But this king sounds very, very different, doesn't he? It says he will rule the people with faithfulness and love. He will be quick to do what is right, and he will see that justice is done. Well, who is he talking about? Well, that sounds a whole lot like Jesus to me. And it goes on to say, the people of Judah say, "We have heard how proud the people of Moab are. We know that they are arrogant and conceited, but their boasts are empty." Ooh, so they're not getting that huge responsive help from Judah, are they? The people of Moab will weep because of the troubles they suffer. They will all weep when they remember the fine food they used to eat in the city of Kir-Heres. They will be driven to despair. The farms near Heshbon and the vineyards of Sibmah are destroyed. Those vineyards whose wine used to make the rulers of the nations drunk. At one time, the vine spread as far as the city of Jazer, and eastward into the desert and westward to the other side of the Dead Sea. Now I weep for Sibmah's vine as I weep for Jazer. My tears fall from Heshbon and Eliah, because there is no harvest to make the people glad. No one is happy now in the fertile lands. No one shouts or sings in the vineyards. No one tramples grapes to make wine. The shouts of joy are ended. I groan with sadness for Moab, with grief for Kir-Heres. The people of Moab wear themselves out, going to their mountain shrines and to their temples to pray, but it will do them no good. That is the message the Lord gave earlier about Moab. And now the Lord says, in exactly 3 years, Moab's great wealth will disappear. Of its many people, only a few will survive, and they will be weak. Here ends the reading. So that's chapters 15 and 16 in a nutshell. And you know, we have such a despair that we see and feel within these writings. And can you imagine being the prophet Isaiah, who is receiving this message from God directly, and then having to tell these people of Moab what they're going to experience? I mean, so oftentimes we see these prophets in the Old Testament really putting their lives on the line. Because, of course, this is going to anger so many people when they hear this. And it would be all too quick and too easy to just kill Isaiah. But he perseveres, he pushes through, and he follows God's call that God has placed on his life. So, and it's so interesting when we see the book of Isaiah. It's a hard one to get through, to be honest, because there is so much destruction listed and there's so much doom and gloom presented, right? But We have to look out for those moments of hope. And even in our own lives, when it feels like we're going through a time of only doom and gloom, that we have to watch for those moments of hope. We have to watch for those moments that God gives us respite. God gives us a safe place to be. So we have to watch out for those. That's the only way that we can remain positive and to keep going. We know that being a Christ follower is not going to be a time of just always happiness and always good things to come. We hope for that, and that's great. But we also know that life can be really, really hard. And how do we manage the hard times and the good times? So we keep the faith, we keep going, we keep Jesus in sight because he is our king. He is going to be the ruler that we need. And he's a ruler that is totally unexpected. He doesn't rule with an iron fist, with just horrible things that he brings to his people. He brings faithfulness and love with his rulership. And that is something that we desperately need even today. And Christ is the only one that can bring that. So I will go ahead and end the video today. So those 2 chapters were extremely quick and small. But I will see you next week as we go into chapter 17. So have a great rest of your night, and you always have a standing invitation to join us in person or online at Impact Church located in Aurora, South Dakota. Our Sunday services are at 10 o'clock, and we look forward to meeting you. So anyway, have a great rest of your night, and we will see you next week with Impact Moment. Bye.